Rome conquered the ancient Mediterranean world by systematically disassembling their rivals through the execution of a replicable, ruthless algorithm. In 231 BC, the Mediterranean was dominated by a tripolar system of Hellenistic superpowers: Antigonid Macedon, the Seleucid Empire, and Ptolemaic Egypt. A critical buffer zone of fractured, nominally independent Greek city-states and minor kingdoms lay between these massive imperial blocs. Rome dismantled this entrenched system using two methods: diplomatic isolation to strip away regional allies, and tactical asymmetry to defeat them on the battlefield. To understand the Roman war machine, we must examine its prime target, Macedon, and see how the Republic engineered the kingdom's collapse long before the legions drew their swords. Rome's initial crossing of the Adriatic was a response to Illyrian piracy. The Senate carefully framed this intervention as a protective measure for local merchants and shipping routes. Following the military action, Rome withdrew its legions and left behind a diplomatic status known as amicitia, or friendship. In practice, this benign-sounding tool functioned as a de facto client-state protocol. Entering local conflicts as a liberator allowed the Republic to gain strategic footholds in Greece without the immediate costs of territorial annexation. This expanding network of Roman friendships inevitably put the burgeoning Republic on a collision course with the region's traditional and powerful hegemon, Macedon. The Roman Senate designed amicitia as the first phase in a calculated process of digesting states. While Rome was occupied with Hannibal during the Second Punic War, King Philip V of Macedon began aggressive campaigns to expand his own empire. Philip's expansion alarmed his smaller neighbors, creating the geopolitical opening the Roman Senate required to intervene. Roman envoys bypassed direct confrontation with Philip. Instead, they approached the minor states he threatened, such as Pergamon, Rhodes, and the Achaean League. Rome drew a diplomatic cordon sanitaire around Macedon, replacing Philip's alliances with their treaties, and binding these states into an anti-Macedonian coalition. To trigger a war, Roman commander Titus Quintius Flamininus presented Philip with irrational, non-negotiable demands, specifically the immediate relinquishing of Thessaly. Philip was forced to reject these terms, allowing Flamininus to initiate the Second Macedonian War, while preserving Rome's image as the reluctant liberator of Greece. Before the two armies ever met at the Battle of Cynoscephalae, Rome had already mathematically isolated Philip from the entire regional network. As the legions prepared for battle, the conflict shifted from diplomatic maneuvering to the tactical hardware of the two empires. Philip V relied on a centralized command doctrine, leading from the front ranks. Flamininus operated as a theater commander, managing the broader battlefield through decentralized units. The Macedonian Phalanx was a rigid architecture, a dense block 16 ranks deep, presenting an overlapping wall of sarissa pikes. It possessed devastating forward momentum, but couldn't pivot or adapt. Conversely, the Roman legion utilized the maniple system, deploying troops in a fluid checkerboard grid. This modularity allowed for rapid terrain adaptation and decentralized command initiative, enabling small units to fill gaps or exploit enemy weaknesses. The battle ahead would serve as a stress test between an architecture of rigidity and an architecture of adaptability. A thick morning fog obscured the steep, uneven ridges of Cynoscephalae as the two massive ancient armies approached each other in the gloom. Blind scouting parties blundered into one another, inadvertently pulling the heavy infantry into an unplanned engagement on the rocky slopes. Philip's right wing formed up quickly. Using downhill momentum, the solid pike wall drove the Roman left maniples backward down the slope. On the other side, the Macedonian left wing deployed late, fragmenting as it attempted to march uphill over the broken ground. Consul Flamininus immediately exploited this chaotic disorder, directing his flexible right wing and war elephants to charge into the gaps of the fragmented Macedonian left. The turning point arrived through the unauthorized initiative of an unnamed Roman military tribune. The tribune detached 20 maniples from the victorious right, looped them across the ridge, and struck the rear of Philip's engaged right wing. The phalanx's rigid structure made it impossible for the troops to raise their massive pikes and pivot toward the rearward threat. In the following slaughter, the trapped phalangists were butchered even as they attempted to surrender. The legion's modularity bypassed the phalanx's strength and ruthlessly exploited its geometric fatal flaw. Following his defeat, Philip V was reduced to a compliant Roman client king, forced to destroy his navy and abandon his previous conquests. At the Isthmian Games, Flamininus delivered a masterstroke of political theater by declaring the Greek states free, autonomous, and untaxed. This supposed liberation merely transferred the Greeks from explicit Macedonian hegemony into Rome's inescapable network of amicitia. The jubilant Greek city-states wildly celebrated their newly granted freedom, unaware that they had just cheered for their final conquerors. By the mid-2nd century BC, Rome no longer required proxy allies. The diplomatic illusions were stripped away, revealing the final step of the Republic's algorithm. When the Achaean League finally realized the reality of their subjugation, they launched a futile rebellion against Rome. In 146 BC, Rome responded with total annihilation. The ancient city of Corinth was burned to the ground, and its entire population was enslaved. Former enemies were isolated, former allies were demilitarized, and the entire region was annexed into the Roman province of Macedonia. Rome's ultimate weapon was the recognition that Hellenistic political networks and military formations suffered from the exact same fatal rigidity. Rome conquered the East by deploying a modular algorithm that dismantled the ancient world piece by piece.